Welcome to Be Me with Shari Ware, the podcast where each day is a step towards a better you and where we focus on progress, not perfection. Join me as we embark on a journey of self-improvement and wellness, focusing on being just a little better than we were yesterday. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Be Me podcast. My name is Shari Ware, I'm your host, and in this episode we're going to be talking about your unconscious mind. So did you know that of your cognitive activities, which include your behaviour, your emotions, your decision making and your actions, only 5% is carried out consciously? That means that on average, a massive 95% of what you do, of all of those things, your behaviour, emotions, decision making and actions are carried out unconsciously. So you do it, but you're not even really aware of what's driving you to do it. So how does this impact on your life? Well, this is actually part 3 in a series called Why Do You Do What You Do? And if you've caught the last 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2, we explored different concepts. I made this into a 6-part series because I really like to give things in small bite-sized chunks, which enables you to, if it's something that you weren't already aware of, to find out about it and then process it. Gives your unconscious mind time to process it and to create an awareness, first of all, that it's a thing, if you didn't already know, and also to create an awareness of how it might be playing out in your life. So how this one, as with the other 2, could be playing out in your life could be that there might be a goal that you've set for yourself that you really want to achieve. Consciously, you really want to achieve it. But there's certain things that you need to do, that you've told yourself that you need to do to achieve that goal, and it doesn't matter how hard you try, you just don't seem to be able to do those things. So, for instance, let's talk about running a marathon. You might decide, even though you're not a runner, that you want to run a marathon. And I don't know why you'd do that. This is actually a real life example from my own life. I was not a runner. I decided that I wanted to run a marathon. And I knew that even though I wasn't a runner and I really didn't know anything about running, I knew that to run the marathon on the day, that there were certain things I would need to do, and one of them would be to do some actual running leading up to the event, and that I would need to start out doing small runs and then work my way up to longer runs. And that might mean that, I'd have to do some 20K, maybe 30K runs leading up to the day. So I'm going to start to talk about a king or queen. So just imagine that you are the king or queen of your castle, of your realm, because you're in charge of your life consciously. You are the king or queen of your castle, of your realm. And you have knights at your disposal who are, you would hope, loyal to you and who will help you, who will carry out the orders that you give them to do, that will help you in your life. Now, if you give your knights an order that they actually don't want to do, you would hope that they were loyal and they would do it. However, what they could do is they could actually decide, no, I actually don't want to do that, and perform a coup. So, for instance, if you had set yourself a goal of running a marathon and that meant that you had to get out of bed on a Sunday morning early and go for a 20K run, and the knights decided that, hey, no, I don't want to get out of bed on a Sunday morning and go for a 20K run. That is a really stupid idea and I do not want to do it. Then the knights could self-sabotage you, could sabotage you and cause you to sleep in, or maybe they could create some kind of illness or headache or something so that you don't get out of bed on a Sunday morning and go for a 20K run, because they don't want to go for a 20K run on a Sunday morning. They want to stay in bed. So if there is a goal that you have set for yourself and you're not able to do the things that you know that you need to do to achieve that goal, this could be exactly what's going on. You could have given your knights, so what you know you need to do, the instructions that you've given your knights to do, they've decided they don't want to do, and so they're performing a coup. Now, we don't know that a coup's being performed until the very end. That's when you know that a coup is being performed. But when you have this knowledge, you may think, oh, I wonder if that's what's going on. Maybe my knights are performing a coup. So who is the king and queen of your castle, and who's in charge of you? That's what we've now opened up. If you weren't already aware of this, we've now opened up the awareness, and you will now, maybe if this is playing out in your life, you will get some insight as to how it's and why it's playing out. So as always, with these series especially, there is an edition of Be Me Bites. Be Me Bites 5, Why Do You Do What You Do, Part 3. And I don't script my podcast episodes. I really just talk off the cuff. I believe that whatever is meant to come out will come out, and it's all important. But when you read, when I write Be Me Bites, the actual written edition on a topic, I take a bit more, my perfectionist hat comes off a bit more, comes out a bit more, I should say, and I take a bit more time just to make sure I get everything in there that maybe I don't think of when I'm talking on a podcast. So I would highly recommend that you check that out. It'll give you a different level of understanding, maybe a bit of a deeper level of understanding on this topic. Again, Be Me Bites they're always short. It won't take you long to consume it. I do that deliberately because I know that people are time poor. And when you make things too big and overwhelming, people don't do anything. I'm definitely one of those people. If it's too overwhelming, I just don't do it at all. So bite-sized chunks, that's what all of this is about. Be Me Bites, Be Me Podcast, all about bite-sized chunks for you to consume easily and actually implement, because it doesn't matter how much you know something. If you don't implement it, it does you no good. So check out that episode. I also always put extra resources in the newsletter edition because people generally, when they're reading something, they have a bit more time. You can listen to a podcast on the fly. You might be listening to it as you're doing something else. But when you're sitting down and reading, quite often people have a little bit more time to play with, or they can come back to it later if they need to. So you might find something else that's helpful in there. And as an ethical bribe, I will remind you that if you subscribe to the Be Me Bites newsletter, you get a free online copy of any one of my books of your choice. When you subscribe, you get an email that tells you how to claim that. So I will ask you again, I will remind you that there is a reason why you do everything that you do as a human being, firstly. Secondly, who is in charge of you? You are the king and queen of your castle, but who is in charge of you? And until the next episode, keep taking one step at a time. I'll see you then.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.